you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. While the crowd was pressing in on Jesus and listening to the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Gennesaret. He saw two boats there alongside the lake. The fishermen had disembarked and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, he asked him to put out a short distance from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. After he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and lower your nets for a catch." Simon said in reply, "Master, we have worked hard all night and have caught nothing. But at your command, I will lower the nets." When they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets were tearing. They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come to help them. They came and filled both boats, so that the boats were in danger of sinking. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at the knees of Jesus and said, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." For astonishment at the catch of fish they had made seized him, and all those with him. And likewise James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners of Simon. Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on you will be catching men." When they brought their boats to the shore, they left everything and followed him. The Gospel of the Lord. My brothers and sisters in the Lord, I've read some psychologists, people that study human nature, and say that typically human beings, we only use part of our capabilities. Actually, I've read articles where it says that we only use about 10% of what we're capable of. That means that there's 90% that we are capable of that we never do. And of course, we can find many reasons why that is so. Part of it is fear, perhaps fear of change. When there's a change in our lives, we fear the unknown. Perhaps we get used to what we do and we get into a routine and we just do the same thing over and over again. I know many people that I meet, perhaps late in life, they say something like, "Father, I should have done that long time ago." And they realize that the time has passed for doing what they should have done. So we always live with sort of that limitation. And I say that in light of the readings today, because in the way the readings, all of them, are challenging us to hear the call of God, who's always asking us to do more, to get closer to Him, to go out into deep water and cast our nets, to realize that we are being called, that there is a call from God. And whether it is Isaiah, the prophet, in the first reading today, or whether it is the disciples, especially Simon Peter in the gospel, they have the same call and they realize they are limited. They have limited themselves, and God is telling them, no, you're capable of this. In the first reading you heard Isaiah just saying, I'm a sinful man, a man with sinful lips, living amongst people with sinful lips as well. And then he has that dream, that revelation. An angel comes to purify him, to assure him that he's capable of the call. Of course, in the gospel, we have Peter, which is being called to something more than what he knows. Remember, Peter was an experienced fisherman. He knew how to fish. And we have that beautiful passage in the gospel today where Jesus uses his boat to preach. So he tells Peter, go off the shore for a little distance. Some scripture scholars, they say that Jesus used the lake itself. Luke calls it the Lake of Gennesaret. It is the Sea of Galilee. That's the only body of water there. And he used the water so that his voice could reach the crowd. And after he finishes speaking, then he tells Peter two things. He says, go out to deep water and cast your nets. And remember, Peter knows about fishing. So the lake, the Sea of Galilee, is a pretty big lake. It's about 8 miles wide, and in the deepest areas of the lake, it's like 100 feet, 150 feet deep. So Peter is thinking, if you were attentive to the gospel, everybody's coming back. So they are cleaning their nets. The day is over for fishing. They've been fishing during the night because that's what an experienced fisherman would do. They wouldn't fish during the day. Actually, the lake was dangerous because it was known for squalls. Those of you that like fishing in our area, if you've been out there, you know how quickly the weather can change. And if you've been there, you know how scary that can be. And also, during the day, there's the sun, so fish tend to go deeper in the water to evade the sun. So Peter, an experienced fisherman, is thinking, go deep into the lake or far into the lake, dangerous. Don't do that. Fishing at this time, we've been doing it all night and we caught nothing, foolish. Of course, he doesn't tell Jesus that. He says, Lord, Master, I've been at it the whole night. I haven't caught anything. But at your word, I'll do what I think is dangerous and foolish. I'll take the risk. I'll go out there. I'll take that 90% that you're calling me to do, which I'm very complacent with my 10%. But at your word, I'll go out. And of course, then you have the miraculous catch. And in the last part of the gospel today, it says something that is very typical of the initial calls of the disciples. Jesus calls, and they immediately leave everything and follow him. And I've always wondered, how did that happen? You know, because you hear somebody calling you, and at least you ask some questions. You know, where are we going? How is the road? How long are we going to be out there? But they seem to immediately leave everything. In my bulletin column for this weekend, I was reflecting on an answer as to why that happened. St. Augustine, he says that the one who was calling externally, he was giving the strength internally to answer. That's a very pious, beautiful reflection that St. Augustine gives. I beg to differ a little bit, not that I am contradicting St. Augustine. Who am I? You know, St. Augustine is one of the great minds of the church. But if you read the gospel attentively today, notice that this doesn't seem to be the first time that Jesus is talking to Peter. Peter actually calls him Master. Jesus knew it was Simon Peter's boat. So there was some kind of relationship. Perhaps it can explain why the disciples answered so quickly. For example, one amazing call is the call of St. Matthew. Remember St. Matthew? He's a tax collector. He was not seen well by the Jewish people, and yet Jesus calls him, and he immediately leaves his post, his tax collector post, his good life, his accommodated life, to follow him. Those of you that have been following The Chosen, the TV series, you know that that was not Matthew's first encounter with Jesus. In the series, that is a novel. It's not kind of like historically or following the gospel exactly as it is written, but in the series it shows that Matthew has already seen what we heard today, the miraculous catch. He's seen some other healings. So when he's relating to Jesus, it's not like the first time he sees Jesus. He knows this is a special person. So when Jesus calls, they are not answering in a void, but they are answering within a relationship with the Lord. And that seems to be the case today with Simon Peter. Master, Master, calls him by a title. We have been working at it the whole night, and we haven't caught anything. But at your word, I trust you. I know what you're capable of. I'll go out. I'll do what I wouldn't do, because to me, it's dangerous and foolish. He didn't say that to Jesus, but he did take out, and they experienced the miraculous catch. So how does that impact each one of us? This is what I would try to say. We are all being called by the Lord to go beyond what we think we're capable of. Isaiah, Peter, the disciples, they give us good examples of that. We need to be able to experience his call in some way. We don't have the advantage, like St. Paul talks to us in the second reading. He tells us that so many people saw the Lord Jesus risen. He appeared to Cephas, that's Peter. He appeared to the 12 apostles. He appeared to 500 all at once. Many of them were still alive when Paul was writing. And finally, St. Paul says, he appeared to me. I have seen him. So that's a great advantage. If you would have seen the risen Lord, you would also do whatever he tells you. We rely on our faith, on the testimony of those who saw him. But is there other ways that we can get closer to God, that we can feel closer to God? And just in my own meditation, I was thinking to myself, there are many ways. One way that we can feel the closeness of the Lord, and we can feel the call to holiness, to do a little more than what we're doing. Not to stay in the 10%, but to go into deep water, to cast our nets. One way is knowing holy people. You may know a holy bishop, or a holy priest, or a holy deacon, or a holy religious sister or brother, or a holy lay person, a friend, someone you know, that encourages you to be better, that motivates you to be holier, because you see the holiness in that person, and that is a great thing. I know myself, I have priest friends that I know motivate me to be better, to be a better person, and we need that. Sometimes I think, you may have them right there in your family, even your spouse, maybe that person, and you say, Father, you should be at my home. You should be there 5 minutes. You see how we live. And there's nothing holy there. Well, be careful with that. Some of you who are married, it may be your spouse calling you to a holier life, to a better life. Children, children are amazing. I always think as a church, we baptize children because children do have a relationship with God. There's a purity, there's a simplicity. And I know even in families, parents, they have to love all their children the same. I know I'm one of 3, and my parents always made it the point that there was no favorite. We were all loved the same way. But you know what I mean? There's always that child that in some way shows something different. They are very open to what they think about God, and they verbalize it, they talk about it. And sometimes in a family, it may be even our children that are reminding us about the love and power of God to try to be better. Another way it could be something that is in disuse today, making an annual retreat. go into a retreat. There are many retreats. There are ways that we can take a morning or a day of reflection, or even go for a weekend retreat. There are plenty of those experiences. And what are those experiences for? So that we can feel the closeness of God, so that we can feel His call, so that we can answer and go into deep waters, cast our nets, go into that 90% we never use. So that may be another possibility. Or even, perhaps, there are so many ways today in the church to read about a kind of spirituality in the church. Perhaps the life of a saint. Perhaps a special apparition or a special manifestation of God that really moves you and really gets you going spiritually. And that's a way as well of feeling the presence of God calling us. Just to summarize, what am I trying to say? God is always calling. He challenges us. Sometimes we're afraid. Sometimes we hesitate because we're complacent. But He's calling us to go beyond, and we need to find what is it that can help us to answer like the apostles did, like Peter did, like Isaiah did. And sometimes we don't have the benefit of seeing the risen Lord, like St. Paul reminds us in the second reading today, but there are other ways that God is showing us His presence through other people that help us to feel the call to be holier, through experiences like a retreat, and certainly through the way that God motivates us to read about something, to get into some topic that really captures our attention. And we know when we read that, when we look into that, we're going to feel the call and the longing to be closer to God. Let us pray for that today, as we're called to be people who experience the presence of God, because in that, then we are willing, like Isaiah, like St. Peter, to venture into the deep waters of being prophets or being truly disciples and casting our nets so that others can also experience the presence of God in their lives. Amen.